So, welcome in. Welcome to How to Sustain Yourself as a Hoop Teacher. You will notice that if you are doing this live, if you're live with me right now, there is a chat box at the side. If you want to pop in any questions, we will have question time a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end. And these questions might have to do with today's workshop, to do with teaching, or to do with Hoop Love Coach training. The next one starts on March 21. Welcome, Tiffany. Now, I know that people are joining us from all around the world, so make yourself cozy, grab your journal, switch any distractions off, and let's get started. So, welcome. My name is Deanne Love. If we don't know each other already, if we have not hooped together or connected in some way, I am a hooper, obviously. Very passionate hooper for many, many years, over a decade now, or hooping for 15 years, but a full-time hoop teacher for over a decade. The creator of hooplovers.tv. If you haven't popped over there, there's a whole bunch of resources for you, but we might know each other through YouTube or perhaps through workshops. Maybe you've done Hoop Love Coach training with me before, or perhaps we hang out on social media somewhere. Hi, Michelle. Yes, all my hair's gone. This is my natural hair. I have really thick hair. We should do a hair workshop one day. I'd love to see you all. Hi, Leanne and Tiffany. Welcome in. Yes, new glasses. I have so many glasses for different, well, not just fashion, actually vision. I wish that I could see all of your faces. I can't right now. I do a lot of time online, but let us know in the chat box. Say hi. Let us know where you're from. Cheryl's from Canada. If you have access to the chat box on the side. Brittany's from Kentucky. Hey, Poland, Mexico, North Carolina, Michigan. Told you, global hoop love. Welcome in everyone from all parts of the world. The UK, hey Tamsin, great to see you. See you. I can feel you. New Mexico, USA. Welcome everyone. So yes, as I mentioned, the Hoop Love is global. Whether you are just starting out as a hooper or thinking about being a hoop teacher, or you have been doing it for many years and you're on all of the beautiful creative ups and downs. Welcome, Leanne from Cape Cod. This workshop is going to really be for, doesn't matter what level. I get asked quite a lot, like, do I have to be a certain level or do it for a certain number of years before I can share? No, and this workshop's all about how you can sustain yourself at any point. Tamsin left the room. It's okay, she is back. So what I want you to do for now is grab your journal, switch off distractions that are around you. It's so easy to reach for Insta or a million other things. Get your questions ready if you have them. If you don't have any questions, what might happen when I share certain tips or ideas is that questions will arise. So write them down and keep them till the end if you can. That will be easy. And the chat box is always there for you. Hello from Germany. So I may or may not be here on video, but I've got a whole presentation for you to keep us engaged and ready. And again, I said to grab your journal because a lot of this will be interactive. I'm going to share what has helped me, but I'll be asking you questions so that it's relevant and that it resonates with you, because this has to be about you. That's really important. It's like your special sauce, your unique way of doing things. And you might actually, in this workshop, even though it's fairly short, you might actually spark some fresh ideas or find some reminders for yourself. So Another reminder is that Hoop Love Coach training, the next one, yes, it is March 21. If you have some questions about the training, most of you have already got in touch with me. But if you would like to ask questions, I think we'll leave Hoop Love Coach questions to the end, unless you have a burning one that you really need to know about. But the quick things about Hoop Love Coach training is that it is online. It's with me and a community of support. You can stream and download 24/7. A lot of people this year in particular want to do it at their own pace. It is a 12-week training, step by step, and then ongoing. Like Tamsin and I have worked together for how many lifetimes? We're staying connected all of the time, but so many people this year are requesting that they be able to do it at their own pace and jump in and out and use all of the materials. There is so much in this training at their own pace. And the answer, of course, is yes, because we have to all, as we have realized over the last couple of years, if you've been a hoop teacher or hooper, or you've had plans start and stop, or things really explode and then kind of die, we have to be able to adapt. And so with the training as well, yes, you may do it at your own pace. Please, it's important. And you don't get kicked out. There's lifetime access and energy. But we are here to talk about sustaining yourself, because it is very easy, very, very easy to get super excited and super passionate and burn out sometimes. We can be, I feel like there is a saying where you're burning the candle at both ends. And so we're trying to do all of the things, and it can feel really exciting, and it is really exciting, but it can also be super exhausting. You can have these moments where you feel like imposter syndrome, like, who am I to do these things? Who would want to learn from me? There is a whole range of things. And if any you see or inspired by any teachers or hoopers online, and you're like, wow, they're so perfect and they've got it all together and they look like they're just sailing along so blissfully. No, it's social media. It's just the tiny, teeny tip of the iceberg. And so we're going to look at what's underneath that tiny, teeny tip today. And as I said, if you're just joining us now, please grab your journal, because I really want you to mold these tips for you, for your feelings, your ideas, perhaps your vision, and write down as many notes as you can. And hopefully, if you can, use pen and paper. And it might seem old school, but actually what it is, it's flow. It's a physical flow. And when we create with pen and paper rather than tapping away on our phones, which I'm sure we all do and love, but when we physically create with pen and paper, then it is a physical sensation, and we are creating, we're visioning, we're potentially manifesting. So me, who am I to share these things with you? Like, who am I to say this is how you sustain yourself as a hoop teacher? Well, I have been doing it for a very, very long time, and I've had massive ups and downs, massive ups and downs. So I've taught countless workshops around the planet when the planet was open to me. I'm in Australia, so I'm still partially locked in down here. I've created hundreds and hundreds. This is probably how most of us met. Hundreds of tutorials. For now, I feel like my YouTube has over 130,000 followers, and that might not comparatively seem like some big, viral YouTuber, but it's a pretty huge community for a niche. It's hooping. I know. I wish that the whole of the planet hooped too. And they're coming. It just continues to grow. Honestly, I always say this, but it continues to grow over the years. So I've planned, I've taught, I've marketed. No, I don't have any big marketing team. I don't have a whole customer service team. There's no big corporation or anything. Hooplovers is me. And many of you may have connected with Masa as well. Sometimes he replies to the emails. He helps out with the editing and things like that. But there's no massive Hoop Lovers company. It's very woman-led and female or me run. Hello. So I've planned, taught, marketed over 60 courses, online courses. Online courses boomed in 2020, 2021. They're continuing. So if that's something that you are thinking about doing, I'm here for you to share tips as well. Trained over 1,000 Hoop Love coaches. And for a very, very long time, I taught every single day, hooping at least one class, sometimes kids during the day, adults at night, 3 to 6 classes at least per week, pretty much every day when I lived in Tokyo for many years and then when I moved to Melbourne. So it's been a long, big, beautiful journey, but how have I kept myself? How have I not like walked away from it all or got burned out? Or I'm going to share with you. Let's dive in. So I'm going to turn my camera off, but my presentation will be here and I'll be back when we have questions at the end. Okay, so let's talk about it. Energy has been really important to me. Abundance, which I think is connections and money, communication, and creativity. So these are the 4 areas that I'm going to be sharing some tips and that I would love you to grab your journal and write down ideas that are sparked from any of this. Simply allow them to pour out, write them down, because you will look back over them and be like, wow, who wrote that? What a genius. So, first of all, energy. Okay, how do we keep our energy? How do we keep going? It's very important to recognize that you cannot be at one energy level consistently. Nothing is. Nothing in nature just goes in this straight linear line and just maintains. Robots, maybe. Something very unnatural. We are not unnatural. We are humans and we are working within many different energies and many different situations, from the quite traumatic to completely blissful. So everything is a roller coaster. Absolutely everything. And for many of us, we are multi-passionate. Now, what does this mean? This means that it is almost impossible for us to focus on one thing. Like we never just have one thing, right? Does anyone have just one thing that they do? Like you only do one thing, as in you only hoop. You don't have to do laundry. You don't have to pick up your kids from school. You don't have to be a loving partner. You don't have to be a part of a family. You don't have to work another job. You don't have to think about your retirement. You don't have to worry about any issues in the world. Is there anyone that has just one thing? Because please tell me if you do. I'm going to give you a direct line call after this. Just one thing. No. So most of us are multi-passionate and many of us have multifaceted lives. So what can we do about this? We can't change that. We can kind of wish all of the stuff and the stress and the bigness away. But one technique, just one technique that I often do when I'm feeling super duper overwhelmed, is I get my journal or I get a human that wants to listen. We have a conversation, maybe find a friend who you can share a lot of your creative ideas or stresses with, and then they will listen, just listen. And then perhaps you can be an open vessel to listening to their stuff for a while. So it's nice and balanced, because it is a brain dump. And what you want to do, so let's say, for example, you're like, okay, I need to pick one thing right now, that you are trying to do with your hooping, your hoop teaching, or your hoop selling. Anything within the hooping range. What's one thing that you're trying to do? Perhaps it is start new classes. Perhaps it is sell more hoops. Perhaps it is design a workshop. Maybe it is your personal practice. So just pick one thing, even though I said no one has one thing. And for a moment, whatever that one thing is, I want you to list all of the ways, write down just all of the ways that you're going to do that or that you've thought you can do that. So if it's start a class in your area, then all of the ways that you might do that is by researching all of the venues in your area, finding out how much other classes might cost for pricing, like listing all of the things. And this we call a brain dump. So we're getting it all out, because when it's in our head, it's taking up a lot of space. And remember, we're talking about how we can sustain ourselves over a long amount of time. If all of your thoughts and stresses and anxiety and worries and loops are in your head and there's no action, you cannot sustain that. So we're brain dumping about one thing that we're working on right now, or that we would like to work on. And the things that you list down, some of them can be fantasies, some of them can be daydreams. And on the flip side, you might not know all of the things, but I'm going to bet that there's a lot of loops and thoughts and ideas that are stuck up in your head. So after you've made a list, and you can do this with absolutely everything, what we are going to do is focus on just one or two things. Now, I know that I said we never have just one thing, but this is a progressive timeline. So what can I do? What can I absolutely do right now? Because I can sit and stress about a million things and I never get them done. Hello, me, all of the time. Or I can brain dump it out, what I need to do for this one thing. I can pick one or two things that I can actively work on right now. And then once I get really good at that, or that seems, that one or two things that I feel like I can do, then I can start to add or take away more, instead of trying to do everything at once, but probably not getting anywhere with it. Anyone else? A multi-passionate, multiple ideas at once kind of human? I am very much guessing that there are a lot of us. Big love to you. So that's one strategy for me to continue to maintain energy, because when we've got so much anxiety and so many ideas, even excitement and thought loops and all of this wonderful fantasy and vision, it can take up a lot of space and drain a lot of energy without realizing it. And remember, we're talking about sustaining energy here. Okay, let's stay on the topic of energy. Welcome, Lindsay. Perfect timing. Never too late. I'll also send the recording to everyone, but stay here in this live right now, grabbing your journal. We're up to the second tip that I have about energy, and that is self-awareness. So often I will, because when we're busy creating or stressing or excited or all of those things as hoopers, as hoop teachers, sometimes we forget to stop and take a moment and ask, is this fueling me or is this draining me? Now, sometimes this really potent question can be right at the beginning of a project, and other times it might be a year down the track. So I have had many incarnations as a hooper, and one of the big, beautiful, exciting parts of my hooping life in the past was that I performed. Now, I was not a trained performer. I was not a trained dancer. And so I had to really step up, but I was super duper excited. I had to really practice. And uh, I got to, I got a lot of amazing opportunities that I would never, ever, ever have had if I didn't step up. But after many years, I had to ask myself this big question: is this fueling me or is it now actually draining me? And not even so much was it that performance was draining me, it's that it was draining time, energy, love, money from teaching, which is ultimately my most greatest hoop passion. So after a while, and sometimes, as I said, this can start right away at the beginning of a cycle of a creative project, or it can be way down the track. You start to learn what gives you energy and what takes it away. Now, here is the big action on self-awareness and asking yourself, is this fueling me or is this draining me? We need to sustain ourselves as teachers, create compassionate boundaries. What does that mean? How do you even do that? Hey, Michelle from the UK. How do we create compassionate boundaries and what are they? This is going to be completely different for everyone, but what I want you to do, and you can write this down as a little journal entry if you like, is think about something right now that is potentially draining your energy. You don't have to share it. And tip here, hoop teaching, it's not all love and light. We're not all like, oh my gosh, wow, I'm so excited about abs. No, there are a lot of huge things. I'm going to share one with you, but I want you to think about, write down something that's been draining. You might not even realize it's draining you. So, let me think what I can share with you. Something that, and it's not a negative thing. It's just like, oh, this is taking a lot of energy. Let me see. Something for me that has that I've noticed I had to create compassionate boundaries around was every day when I wake up on social media, if I look at social media, there's lots of written questions and comments, and they're all beautiful and amazing. But they take a lot of time and energy for me to write to, so comment back on. And I actually want to reply to absolutely everyone in depth. I want to send voice messages. I want to send tutorials. However, I have to create compassionate boundaries because I could honestly spend my whole day replying to you because I love you, replying to all of the amazing, and I used to not sleep. I would be up all night because, as you know, we're on different time clocks, and I would be replying to everything. Now, to sustain myself, yes, Carla Jones writes, trying to make everyone happy. This is very much a big part of it. So it might be a little bit different for you, but the concept of trying to please everyone or trying to make everyone happy. Well, first of all, we don't know what's going on in their lives. It's actually impossible for us to make everyone happy, but some of us are going to try, or some of us are going to try to reply to absolutely everything and have no sleep. And then you can see where something like that might go. The people pleasing or the trying to make everyone happy might also come out as trying to create hoop classes for absolutely everyone in your area. Absolutely, like everyone must come to my class, and then finding that maybe for now, to create a compassionate boundary might be to build a hoop class for mums at the local school. Now, that also kind of feeds into really clever understanding of your community, but it is also a compassionate boundary for yourself. So try not to spread yourself too thin, because unfortunately, there's not just one thing. So sustaining your energy, thinking about what is fueling you and what is draining you. Now, if something's draining you, it doesn't mean that you have to ditch it, that it's like, okay, this sucks, I'm not good, bye. It takes a few cycles in the creative realm to understand what is not for you any longer and what really is meant for you, but that perhaps you just have to create some new compassionate boundaries. Perhaps you just need to shift things up. Food for thought. Okay, let's talk about abundance. Woo! Okay, we need to be abundant. Energetically abundant, that means we need not to be exhausted all of the time. And I talk about abundance as two things: connections and money. Now, the connections are huge. That's all of the connections that you make, mostly human connections, but maybe you're making creative connections, maybe you're making online tech connections. In the beginning of Hoop Love Coach training, whether you've done it with me or not, we create something that is your special sauce. This is how you will uniquely create connections. This is how you will define what it is that you're going to offer up. And it may change over time. And the answers to these questions might change over time. But give yourself a little moment just now. And if you have done Hoop Love Coach training with me, you might want to go back to module 1, setting up for success, just sometime, when you've got all that free time, and answer the questions again, particularly if you did it over a year ago. See what's changed for you. But for now, in this moment here, you can write just a few words to each of the questions if you like, or you might go on a huge scribe. Your special sauce and how you're going to be making connections and how you're going to sustain those connections is by sharing what is your story. How did you start hooping? Why did you start hooping? How is it supporting you? Why do you want to teach? Is there something specific, different, special, unique about your story? The answer is yes, because it's yours. What is your flavor? Now, this can be interpreted in many different ways, but remember, we're thinking about these things so that we have a solid understanding of our foundations. And when you have those strong foundations, you're more easily able to go out and make connections because you know yourself, you know what you are offering. Side note, please do not stress if you don't know. We don't have all the answers. I do not have all the answers. We never will have all the answers. But for now, in this moment, we're going to strengthen those foundations. Jennifer says I go back to Hoop Love Coach training frequently. It helps me to get my ideas together about what I will be teaching. Yes. So your flavor can be a little bit like your branding, or yeah, let's just say like your branding for now. We don't have a whole bunch of time to go in depth, but is your energy or what you're sharing, is it very fun, high vibe, playful? Is the connection perhaps around like wild country music or banging electronic beats? Like, what is the flavor? What is your flavor? Now, sometimes it can be really challenging to know that about yourself. Like, you're like, I'm just me. I don't know. I just share hooping. One thing that we do is, because, as I said, it can be hard to see your reflection, is that you can reach out and ask friends. Ask them to describe you in a couple of words and just see what comes up. Now, I said friends, humans that are respectful, honest, loving, compassionate, caring. And speaking of connections, if those people are not in your life right now, then I would highly encourage to seek them out. We talked about, is this draining me or is this fueling me? And that has a whole lot to do with the connections, the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. And if they are loved ones, sometimes we have to have hugely impactful conversations with them. Okay, this is getting deep. Let's go back. What do you offer? Let's get very practical here. What do you offer? I offer 3 beginner hoop classes each week at the local community centre. P.S. That's a lot. Because remember, you're preparing, you're planning. I offer workshops for the local women's community center the first Sunday of every month. So you can get really specific. And if you do not offer anything at the moment, you can dream it up, write it down, create an offering. Here's a little tip. I am forever writing down, creating, coming up with, sharing by voice or by message, things that I want to offer. Forever. Some of them work out, others, they get packed away for another day. Here's a really huge one, and this one can help you a lot also with your marketing or your sending communications. What problem do you solve? I solve the problem of there not being many hoop sellers that sell quality custom hoops. I solve that problem. Here I am. It's me. There may be specific problems or areas that your offering matches with in your particular part of the world, your particular community, neighborhood. What problem do you solve? Perhaps you don't know what problem you solve, and yet you see that there are spaces or areas in your local community that could do with your support. What is your look, your vibe, your style? Now, I know I'm always saying it's not about what you look like, but we are human. And even when we started this workshop, a few of you beautiful humans were like, hey, look at your hair. Oh, you've got glasses. We are visual. We notice. What is your natural look, vibe, style? You don't have to change it in any way unless you want to. But what is it? Understand these things about yourself. And who is your community? You might just be writing down a few little notes. Who are they? Maybe you don't know them yet. That's exciting. Maybe you've been looking for them for a while. They're out there. Who is your community? Who do you want your community to be? Guess what? It's not everyone. Who are they? You can be as specific as you like. And so knowing these things, because we're talking about how do we sustain ourselves, how do we stay connected, knowing these things is going to help you with the abundance of connections. So you can keep tapping back into it. Every time you feel like you lose your way or you're feeling disconnected from your teaching, from your community, from your hooping, from sharing classes, from making money, from marketing, whatever it might be that you have to do, go back to your special source, go back to your story and what you offer and what problems you solve, and it will refresh you and sustain you. Okay, let's talk about money. We can't live on this planet without money. It is very essential that we, at some point, for me, sometimes it doesn't matter where the money is coming from, but we need the money to pay bills, to sustain. So it might not come from one direct source. Perhaps, like many of us, have different types of jobs or sources, but one thing that I really like to be is strategic about the money. Like, I like to know that bills will be paid and things will be supported. And so rather than just hoping and wishing, getting strategic about it. So again, grabbing that journal, writing down, brainstorming what it is that what money you want to or need to make. And everybody's finances are different and everybody does it in a different way. And you have to really find your way. And sometimes that is a creative journey. For some people, it may be, these are my bills for this month. These are the hooping expenses, and this is what I need to make. For some people, it might be, I like to share $500 a month with my favorite charity. And so this is what I want to make. So brainstorming all the ways that you can make money, and it does not matter the reason or what you need to cover or how much it is, because it's your personal brainstorm. How much money? The next is to break it down. And what I mean by breaking it down is kind of creating a map, perhaps of your month. I like to go month by month. That really helps me to understand. Some people like to have a year overview. Some people are going day to day, whatever it is. That is your way of making sure that you are supported financially. Break it down. So for this month, I will be teaching 3 classes at the local community center every week. I will be charging $15 per class. This is just an example. If I get 10 people, I have to get 10 people to cover my bills. That's going to make me this much. I'll also try to sell 10 hoops. The next step is, so that's breaking it down. And you might have a whole bunch of other different things. And then I get a gig where I'm going to teach at a birthday party. And so that's that. And then I'm going to create this workshop. So you're going to break down how you're making the money, how much you're going to get, what the expenses are. And then, does anyone else not make hoops? Yes, me. And Jennifer says, I have no desire to do that. Me too. And that's okay. That's okay. Yes, you don't need to. I just put in those examples because some people do make an extra income from their hoops. So there are lots of different ways that we can create. Perhaps you're doing one-on-one classes online. So whatever it is, but Jennifer, I'm with you. Because going back to that first part where we're talking about sustaining ourselves, I had to pick what was draining me and what was not. And Tiffany, I love making hoops. I'll make them for you. There we go. This is why I love this community. Yes, we don't. So one really important thing is that we can look outside of ourselves and see like, oh, this teacher does this and this person does this, and so I should do that. It's totally fine to try it out, put on the coat, and if you don't like the coat, you can take it off and pass it on to the next human, or take care of it, whatever works for you. Now, a part of creating this money is then believing that you can actually get up and go out there and do the things. And I spoke about the imposter syndrome earlier. There are going to be a lot of battles that come in your way in that part of the strategic money making. Like, oh, I don't think I can do this. I'm not sure. Because the next thing is that you need to act on it. So if, let's say, for example, if you are going to sell 10 hoops, say that's within your vision for the month, again, for whatever reason you need to make this money. If you're going to sell, if you need to sell those 10 hoops, then you have to communicate about them, explain that to your students, share them, show them. So there's an action in there. And then the last part is to track. It could be in a journal, could be on an accounting software. However you do it, that's how you're going to do it. Jennifer says, I partner with someone who offers discounts, which is helpful. Perfect. Leanne, no, but my best friend, boyfriend, is going to start making them for me. See, we are supported. All right, let's talk about communication marketing. Whoa, lots of people are often in my little inboxes reaching out for help around marketing. If I can share something with you that has sustained me over the years and has pushed me through not the cringe of not really wanting to market, because marketing feels really cringy, is that I think about it as communication. And whenever I put something out there or share something, I ask these questions. Will this help someone? Will someone learn something from this? As a teacher, that's really important for me. And I would have to say that if you are creating content online as a way of communication and marketing, will someone learn something from this? Because I would really highly encourage you to check what you are finding interesting online. Check what content sparks your interest and idea. I like inspiration. And think about how you can create some similar yourself. So as I'm sharing any marketing, doesn't matter if it's like, hey, here's my class, or these are my hoops, or come and learn something on YouTube with me. Will this help someone? Is it helpful in any way? Will someone learn something? Have I included all of the details? Here's a huge, big, massive one. So a lot of times I see, and this is not just hoop related, this is like small business related in anything. Let's say it's yoga classes or a florist or someone is making, I don't know, amazing flowy pants, is they put up all of this beautiful, incredible content, but they do not include where they are. Are they local? Can I go to their shop? Can I buy something? They do not include the little details because there's so much, and they forget that they're like, yes, I'm just down the road, or no, I'm in London. So no, you actually cannot come to my shop. So whenever you are marketing, make sure that you include all of the details. And is it easy to understand? Is it easy for people to find how to get in contact with you? Is it easy for people to know exactly where your hoop class will be? Okay, I'm noticing that Tamsin says, I struggle with pricing. And Tiffany says, yes, me too. And Cheryl says, yeah. Okay, pricing. I should do one big thing on pricing. I feel like people ask this all of the time. One of the questions to ask yourself, let's go back, but we're talking about pricing now. I'll just do a little drop in here. To ask yourself about pricing is, what do you struggle with? What is it that you're actually struggling with? Are you struggling with knowing what to price your products or services or offerings at? Or are you struggling with, oh, I don't know if anyone will pay that. Oh, that seems like it might be a bit expensive. Or are you struggling with the blocks or cringy feeling around money and asking for money? Or do you just not know if it's meant to be $20 or $30? So there are two things to unpack around pricing. If and someone says, yes, knowing what to price at. I had someone approach me about doing an after school program one day and I don't know what to charge. Okay, perfect. All right. So those types of things. So if it's not a tangible product, if it's this exact example. So someone says, can you come and do a party for me? Can you come and do an after school program for me? The first step that I take personally is to research. So I kind of do a quick Google and find, or this is what I used to do, find what other people are charging in the area. So maybe you can look up after school care programs, you can look up children's parties, you can look up adult parties, you can look up yoga classes, you can look up after school. So do a little bit of research. Now, things might pop up, things might not. If they don't, and you have other connections in the community, ask around. Find out what classes are costing. Find out what people charge. If you don't know, if you still can't find any, you have no idea, like you have literally no idea how much to charge, you can ask the person who is about to hire you. You can say, how much are you going to pay me? You don't have to say it in those words, but that sounds very direct. You can say, some people like to say, what is the budget? You can say, this is what I'm offering. So let's say you're in communication with this person, right, who wants to hire you. And they say to you, can you do an after school program one day a week? And you say, this is what I would offer in a 1-hour class. You can say your price if you're like, and that will be $200. Or if you are so unsure and you really don't know and you're happy to learn as you go, you can ask them what they're willing to pay. And they might say $50, and then you have to decide, is that within your range? $50, not a lot of money. I have to travel for an hour and a half. I need to make an extra 10 hoops. But on the flip side, I'm really interested in going into after school care program, and I think it might be really helpful for me to know if it's going to be fueling me or draining me, going back to sustainability. So someone, Jennifer says, any New Englanders here who have priced events or classes? I teach through community ed and they charge them $80 for 8 weeks for 1 hour classes. Yes. So everywhere is going to be a little bit different. And this is why, going back to, I wish I could just say everything is $100. It's not the case. Let's see, going back to when you're breaking it down in the abundance. So you're brainstorming like all of the ways. So after school care, selling hoops, teaching classes, doing an online workshop. And let's say you're looking at your monthly abundance. You need to break it down. So perhaps you are teaching classes in community ed that are not paying you what you need to cover your bills, but you might supplement that by teaching an online beginners workshop once a month. And so that does support you. And you can say that each student is $15. So there is not just one price for everything. We're contributing in lots of different streams. Tiffany says, music festival kids workshop. I said $100. Okay, another question that you need to ask yourself is, does that make me feel supported? Or am I doing this because I would like to learn something? Carla's saying, I'm doing my first workshop by donation. Perfect. So yes, again, with pricing, it's a little bit about research. It's a little bit about understanding your breakdown and what you need to support yourself. It's a lot about understanding your expenses and deciding, is this draining me? Is this fueling me? Yes, and Tamsin says, for parties, you could design the events, yes, but say, contact me for bespoke pricing. Absolutely. And lots of performers or like teachers who do these kind of like one-off workshops, they will either, you get to decide, you're either saying, you get all of this in an hour and a half for $350. That's it. You can do it that way. Or you can say, you get all of this in an hour and a half, contact me for pricing. And then you're going to have, if you are up for those big conversations and you're willing to ask for your worth, you can say to the person that you're in communication with, you can talk budget, you can talk about what you desire to be paid. Back to sharing your value and sharing your worth, and we can continue the conversation around pricing too. On hooplovers.tv, there's 100 ways to market yourself as a movement teacher. If you're ever feeling like you can't sustain your communication and your marketing, you can jump in there anytime. Another thing that I really like to do to sustain my marketing and not get completely burned out is always go back to, who am I talking to? And one of my greatest tips to overcome the marketing insecurity, does anyone else have it, where they're like, ooh, yuck, I hate, ooh, maybe I'm over promoting, is to talk to the camera or write to the caption or create the message or whatever, however you are communicating with your marketing, as if it was your best friend. Now, it's very super duper easy to imagine all of the worst case scenarios. Cringe, they're going to hate it, they're going to write a negative comment, it's going to be bad, no one's going to see it, that million things. Of course, imposter syndrome, that internal saboteur is going to tell us all of those things. But what if it was your best friend listening in? What if it was your best friend reading that caption? What if it was your best friend? Talk to them. Chances are they probably are. Like, if you were to hang out, they could be your best friend. Now, we're going back to, I'm going back into the chat box here. And Tamsin said yes before about the bespoke pricing. Yes, you can do it that way. And then, yes, I'm in New York. Typically, adult education charges from 60 to 80 for 8 to 10 classes. The district will pay me 30 to 100 per class. It varies so much. I always say yes. Beautiful. That is also a strategy. I say yes. And some classes might pay me $50 and some might pay me $500. And that's where, again, we're going back to sustaining yourself with money, is that you need to break it down. So if as I was an up and coming teacher, I decided that I would only do classes that paid me over $500, I might miss out on a whole bunch of really cool interactions and connections and potentially money. So you have to, this is all about sustaining yourself in the long run. Is this supporting me? Is this fueling me? Is this draining me? If I'm only getting paid $50, but I'm spending more than that in fuel and my time traveling is really stressful, then maybe this is not the right thing for me. But sometimes you don't know that until you try it out. And then maybe I'm only getting paid $50, but I love teaching this class. I learn so much. I create my playlist as I'm traveling for an hour. So we're thinking about all of the different ways that it's sustaining you. Okay, last one. And then we've got some questions. I bet they're all about pricing, which I love. Creativity. How do I keep coming up with new stuff all of the time? How do I keep, and it's not always new. Sometimes I'm not reinventing the wheel. Sometimes I realize, and often in my early days, that I had to teach the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And each time I taught it, I refined the way that I taught. And each time I taught it, I shared a little bit stronger, a little bit deeper, a little bit more widespread with whoever my students were. But these are the sources that I had to tap into. And I'd love you to grab your journal and just write down, what is your source of creativity? And if your inner saboteur jumps to, I'm not a creative person, I'm not creative, you are, we were created. You are creating every single day. Every time you cook anything in your kitchen, anytime you make big decisions, anytime you are finding a new direction, you're creating. We're always creating. So what is it that inspires you? What sparks you to think, oh, I'd love to share that? Is it hooping itself? Is it the actual physical action? Writing down what it is. And you can share with us in the chat if you like. What is it that inspires you? Is it music? For me, always and forever, it's been the music. I hear a song, I want to do a choreography to it. I hear a song, I need to put it in my class playlist. I hear a song, it makes me want to get up and practice. For me, it's also been other movement modalities. Over the course of the last 15 years, I have, to the best of my ability, continuously gone to other classes. I am fascinated by teachers. I am fascinated by facilitation. Other movement modalities like 5 rhythms, ecstatic dance, any kind of dance class, even if I sucked at it, that inspires me. Perhaps for you, it's moon cycles, art, your imagination, your children, the community. Music, yes, Leanne's like, absolutely, the music. And the thing about music, and this is what we're talking about, sustaining ourselves, keeping ourselves going in the high times and the not so high times. Music is always there. There is new music. Some of us love it, some of us don't. You might hear an old song that sparks something so beautiful within you, perhaps an amazing memory. You might hear a song from your past that is not great memories, that brings up these emotions. That is inspiration. That is creativity. What inspires you? Okay, definitely music. Jennifer says, questions. I am here for you. You might also be asking a question that someone else has. So all questions are totally valid. If you want to ask questions about Hoop Love coaching, if you have not, or if you're thinking about it, you're on the edge, you're not quite sure, I'm open to that. If you have more questions about any of the stuff that we have shared, I'm open to that. Know that you are here, you are enough, you are definitely supported. Look at this chat box popping off, everyone's sharing. They're like, hey, 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 you. Staying connected with your community also means staying connected with other teachers. They're not competition. The other creators that are out there, they may inspire you from afar. You might co-teach or co-create. You might collaborate with another teacher. They might love making hoops and you might love sharing workshops, and somehow you come together. There are lots of different ways. As you drop your questions in the chat box, just here sharing with those of you who are interested in Hoop Love Coach training that we start together next week, which I'm very, very excited about. And we journey together for the first 12 weeks as a collective. And then after that, support comes in the form of me being here and human and showing up, but also a global Hoop Love Coach network, many of whom have gone on to create their own special, unique, special source ways of sharing. Thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer says the Hoop Love Coach training is the best for getting started teaching. I printed all of the materials out. Wow, that is a lot. And I have them on hand. Tiffany says, what is a good way to know when an avenue is not working, that maybe I should stop putting energy into it? Yes. Whew. It can be a big line and a fine line sometimes. So I am going to jump back here to say hello. So the question is, how do I know if I should stop putting energy into something? Taking a little bit of time out, and some of the things that we talked about today. So is it draining me or fueling me? Now, we all have jobs that drain us. It doesn't mean that we should completely quit. Or we all have creative projects that drain us. We have meltdowns. It's not all just so easy, breezy, and blissful. And if there's some kind of maybe some coaches or some trainers will be like, if it's right for you, then it will just feel amazing. That's not always the way. There is sometimes, I'm sure a lot of humans on this chat can tell you that it can take time, it can take struggle, and it can take hard work. And that's like any connection or relationship. However, if it is not inspiring you any longer, sometimes you might need to take some time out, take a break, take a reset. Maybe you need to reconnect with parts of it that are fueling you, that are inspiring you. Give it a bit of a shake up. There's definitely been times for me that I have taken a break from certain things and then realized, like, oh no, actually I super love, like, that really, I miss that so much. Taking a break, and then you can get a different perspective. Now, if it's doing things like making you sick, making you exhausted, burning you out, it's definitely where you would probably stop putting energy into something. But when do you know if it's not working? I'm always about coming up with, if it's something that you truly desire and you know that it's something that you want to share, coming up with other creative ways, maybe brainstorming with other teachers, some friends, or taking yourself away and having a hoop practice. So finding other ways, maybe you're coming at it like in a really intense way. And so it's time to look at it from a different perspective. Janet says, do you have any tips on how to get past imposter syndrome or the voices in your head that try to convince you that you're not a talented enough teacher to offer classes that people pay for? I know I'm sitting here right now and I know that all of us encounter this because we are humans. And one beautiful thing, Janet, is that you recognize, you can make a distinction that that is there. That negative self talk, that imposter syndrome, the inner critic is there. So it hasn't completely consumed you. You can separate yourself from it and you can see, like, okay, this is holding me back. And you know what is holding you back. It's this constant talk that I'm not good enough. I'm not good as that person. I'm comparing myself. So you can witness all of those. And then, as strongly and as loudly as that voice is, can you find other ways, equal amount of ways or ideas or self-talk that actually is the flip side of what that inner critic is? So you feel like your inner critic tells you that you're not talented enough, so a flip side of that that you can support yourself with is that you have been practicing, that you are doing all of these things, that you are just uniquely talented in the way that you share, that you are on the journey to being an inspiring teacher, whatever it is for you. And sometimes like little things can feel big. I remember doing my first ever hoop performance, and I was totally stressed out, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not doing this. No, no, this was a crazy. Who thought it? No, what am I thinking?" And honestly, I do have to say, like, I didn't know how to perform this. I was invited to do. I did not have many hoop skills, but here I was, ready in costume with a really big clunky LED hoop. This was a long time ago, and something that stuck with me is that someone said to me, "No one else in this space can do what you're about to do. No one else can do this right now." And that, for some reason, that always stuck with me. It's like I have something to share. It doesn't have to be this wild, crazy, but I have to share it now. And I need to know. And I think that the people that I share it with will be inspired, and I will be inspired. And if I don't do these things, if I don't take this action, I won't know. I'll just be listening to the voice in my head that says, "You suck and you can't do this." And that's not really action. And that's not really the kind of life that I wanted to live. So hopefully that helps. They're always there. Witness them, those voices, and match them with the truth, the actual truth, that you're an incredibly inspiring, passionate, and beautiful teacher. And people will learn from you and love you. That goes for all of us. Okay, regarding Hoop Love Coaching, when you say it starts March 21, what time do you come online each day if we wanted to study with you instead of just recording? Just curious. Okay, this is the biggest problem that I ever face. This is the thing that I wish I could change. World time clocks. I cannot. I live in Australia, and you likely live in the US or Europe or somewhere where when it is my 3 a.m., you are vibing and high vibing. So this is why Hoop Love Coach training is all recorded, so that there is you can't miss anything. So I would love to say that I turn up every single day at a time that works for either you or me, but we don't because of world clocks. So it is pre-recorded for you. Are the trainings weekly? Is there a chat like this for the first 4 weeks? Priscilla, I love that name. No. So if you have learned with me before online, then you will know that what my special sauce and the deep core of what I offer is that I want us to feel like we're in the same room together, even though it is so impossible. And I wish that I could fly to you. I wish that our time clocks were the same. Sometimes I wish that I didn't live in Australia because we have such a weird imbalance. Like, why am I just not in New York? Anyway, it's not an option right now, so I have to be real. And I'm here, like, usually live replying to or replying on the group, but everything is recorded. I've been listening to you in my van. Just got to my first class for the spring session at the district. I pulled over to comment earlier. I'm always inspired by you, Deanne. Thank you. How epic. Hoop teachers in the house. Tiffany, thank you. I feel like the Hoop Love Coach Leanne offered everything you'd need for a solid foundation to teach this magical movement to others. Incredible. Oh, Tamsin here. Give the voice a name and tell her to shut it. Yes, so I have heard this used as a technique as well, to the inner saboteur, to the inner critic, to the voices, the imposter syndrome, is to actually create them as this other, like witness them as you have been, and to say like, that's, I don't know, any name you want, Sally. Um, it could be just a normal name, it could be a negative name, whatever it is, just to recognize that they are not the totality of who you are or what you are, and that they will, if you allow them, stop you. So it's okay to be like, okay, I'm going to shrink you, make you smaller, make you not the dominant superpower, which they can definitely be the dominant superpower. Someone offered me this once and I found it very helpful. You only need to know a little bit more than someone else to help them. Yes. Okay. This is so, so powerful. If you are stuck thinking, what would I don't have anything. Trust me, if you are starting hoop beginner classes, you know so much more than everyone else, providing that you have prepared a safe, creative, supportive environment and container, and you know how to safely support and guide your students, and you create an opening and a closing that helps your students to feel safe, and you are considering the way that they move in their body, like all of those things you're able to break down so that they feel supported. You are offering them so much more than you actually probably realize. It's Wednesday here at 6 p.m. Perfect. Yes. Wait, what? It's Thursday here. I'm in the future. Is there a Facebook page for the training? If I remember correctly, there's a Global Hoop Love Coach page. Yes, yes, there is. Yes, I worried about comparing myself to others you see on IG. However, whatever you can do to stop that, just like, even if you have to like not follow them, or like, I don't know what you do on IG, just like whatever helps you, and it doesn't have to be forever and ever, just whatever helps you. But in my classes, it's not a problem. Yes, and this is the thing, like when we're looking at social media, we're inactive. We're simply just looking. And when we're just looking and viewing and absorbing, our brain, our inner saboteur, that negative critic can be very loud because we're not in supportive service and action. But when we actually show up and we're in action, you'll notice that critic is very soft and gentle, because they're like, oh, we don't need to be here anymore. She got this. So Tamsin said, I told my students I was new to teaching and they were so kind to me. Yes. Same goes with performing, or with we're being vulnerable. And what you will notice is many of your students who come to your class will be super nervous. Some of them will be really questioning whether they should have even turned up to the class, because they're worried that they're not going to be good at it, because they are also human. So all of those beautiful things. We are humans, and this is about connection and supporting each other. And just as much as you will show up and be like, hey, I'm going to teach you all these amazing things, your students will also, if you take the time to stop and listen, they will also be sharing so much with you, just as you have right here and now with each other. It's always a cycle of give and take. So if there are any other questions, please, you can drop them here now. I hope that you gave yourself some opportunity to write down in your journal some little ideas, even if it was just a few words. It's going to spark something later on. I hope that the ways that I have sustained myself over a very long period of time are supportive for you. Thank you to all of you beautiful humans who have shared your tips and ideas, your questions and your thoughts. Does anyone have insurance for online offerings? That is something that you would have to ask your insurance companies if they offer. That is an ever evolving situation. It is different in different, as international internet laws change. There are definitely still insurance offerings. Insurance for teaching in real life. The teaching online, as someone who's taught online for a very long time, I have asked this question to so many insurance companies. Do you know what often they'll say to me? And they can share like a kind of coverage, but you know what they'll often say to me? They're like, what do you do? What you do? What? Since 2020, 2021 has expanded online, I would bet that so many more insurance brokers are going to be sharing what they call, there's a name for it. It's like multimedia insurance. Yes, Jennifer says always have them sign a waiver. Do most people get insurance for classes in general? Yes, absolutely. It's super easy. Back in the day, like when I first started or like 15 years ago, it was expensive, it was hard. It's super easy. It's very cheap. It's often an annual insurance. Yes, in the global Hoop Love I can't rattle off all of the insurance companies right now, but there are many, and Hoop teachers will support each other. It's not something that anyone gatekeeps. It's definitely something that's out there that you can find insurance for. And it's just like many things. It's like a yearly allowance. Does Hoop Love Coach Training have any templates for a waiver? Yes. Where I can find them? Yes, definitely. And then you can just print that out, but you need to change it for your own way. And many people, just like anything to do with finances or insurance or any legality, check with your insurer. It's most important that you don't get the information from me. Don't take anything to do with law or money or like accounting. Don't take my word as someone sitting in Australia. Make sure, and you don't have to like pay some big lawyer. You can literally call your insurance company or a insurance company that you're potentially thinking of and ask them directly. Ask them as many questions. The cool thing is, and I used to get really nervous about stuff like this when I first started teaching, because I was like, I don't know anything. They will tell you. That is their genius. They are really good at all of that stuff. And so they will give you all of the best tips. And things are always updating. Someone who was at the asked me about online insurance, it's always been updated. The world around insurance and finances and global international internet laws are always ever changing. So yes, K&K insurance, Jennifer says, in the US is great. In Australia, it's a different one. In the UK, it's different, but they all exist. And there is always new companies jumping into the market. So you can do your research. It's actually quite fascinating, and it's super empowering when you know those things. You're like, hey, I got me. I'm good at this. And it's not as expensive as it once was. It's very affordable for a whole year. Okay, any other questions? I could chat to you all day long. Will there be a recording of this sent out? Yes. Thank you so much, Leanne. Yes, it was lovely to meet you all too. I wish that I could see your faces. Thank you, whatever time it is in the world, for making time and space in your life. I will share the recording so that you can go back over any of it. But my biggest, greatest thank yous and love to you. Please take care of yourself in this wild, wild world. Thank you, Jennifer. If in doubt, hoop it out. I don't know who made that up, but sometimes, especially these days, it's just like there's so much I don't know what to do. I just need to hoop for a moment, and then clarity comes and you'll know what your next step is. Wishing you wonder. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and let's chat really, really soon. Mwah. Big love. Bye.